Aiden was a curious young man who loved exploring old, forgotten places. Unlike most of the townspeople, who preferred the busy streets and modern buildings, he found beauty in the quiet and the abandoned. He felt that every old place had a story to tell if someone just stopped and listened. On a warm autumn morning, he decided to wander deeper into the forest that bordered the town. He had walked this path many times, but something about today felt different, like an unseen force was guiding him. The forest was calm and golden, with sunlight filtering through the orange and brown leaves. Birds chirped softly, and the air smelled of damp earth and fallen leaves. Aiden walked slowly, his eyes scanning every tree, every stone, every shadow. Then, he noticed a strange shape partly covered in vines and moss. At first, he thought it was just an old wall, but as he got closer, he realized it was a set of large wooden doors, worn with age and weathered by time. Curiosity sparked in his chest. He pushed aside the thick vines and pressed his hand against the rough wood. It felt colder than the morning air, and a shiver ran down his spine. The doors creaked loudly as he pushed them open, and Aiden stepped inside. Dust floated in the sunlight that streamed through broken windows, and the air smelled of old paper and wood. Rows of shelves stretched in every direction, filled with books that looked like they had not been touched for decades. Cobwebs hung from the corners, and the floorboards creaked beneath his weight. He felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. It was as if the library was holding its breath, waiting for him to arrive. Aiden wandered between the shelves, running his fingers along the spines of books, reading old titles in faded letters. Some were in languages he did not recognize, others were stories he had never heard. As he moved deeper into the library, a sudden whisper brushed against his ear. He froze. Aiden. The voice murmured, soft and barely audible. His heart skipped a beat. No one else should have been here. He spun around, but the library was empty. Hello, he called, his voice trembling slightly. Silence answered him. Shaking his head, he tried to convince himself it was only the wind moving through the broken windows. But then, the whisper came again, a little clearer this time. Aiden, over here. The voice was gentle, almost musical, and full of longing. He followed the sound carefully, his footsteps echoing in the empty space. Finally, he reached a small wooden table in a hidden corner of the library. There, resting on the table, was a book that glowed faintly, as if it had a light of its own. Aiden's fingers hovered over it, hesitant yet drawn by an invisible force. When he touched the cover, a warm sensation spread through his hand and up his arm. The whisper became stronger, and for the first time, it spoke in words he could fully understand. "Thank you for finding me," said the voice, calm and kind. "I have been waiting a long time for someone to listen." Aiden stepped back in surprise, his eyes scanning the room. Who are you?" he asked. "How are you speaking to me?" "I am Myra," the voice replied. "This library, it kept me here. I could not leave. I have waited for someone who could hear me, someone who would care." Aiden's heart pounded as he listened. The voice was not frightening, but there was a sadness to it, a loneliness that made him ache inside. He took a deep breath and sat down at the table. I don't understand, but I want to help," he said softly. The library felt alive around him, the dusty air shimmering with something he could not explain. The thought that a person, or something like a person, could be trapped in this place amazed him. And yet, he felt no fear, only curiosity and a growing desire to know more about Myra. As the sun moved across the sky outside, Aiden stayed at the table, listening to Myra's whispers. She told him small things at first, like her love for books and how the library had been her home for what felt like forever. He asked questions, carefully, not wanting to startle her. With every word, every whisper, a strange bond began to form between them. It was a connection that went beyond time, beyond the walls of the abandoned library. When the daylight began to fade, Aiden finally stood, reluctantly leaving the glowing book behind. "I will come back," he promised, his voice steady. Myra's soft, grateful whisper echoed in his mind as he stepped back into the forest. The library doors closed gently behind him, but the warmth of her presence followed him. As he walked home, Aiden could not stop thinking about the voice in the abandoned library, and he realized that this discovery was only the beginning of something extraordinary. The next morning, Aiden could not stop thinking about the abandoned library and the mysterious voice he had heard. It was strange, almost unreal, but he felt a pull he could not ignore. After a quick breakfast, he grabbed a small notebook, a pen, and a flashlight, and set off toward the forest. The path seemed familiar yet magical, and the golden sunlight of early morning made the leaves sparkle as if welcoming him. When he arrived at the library, the doors were still covered in vines, but the moment he touched the wood, he felt the same warmth as the day before. He pushed the doors open, stepping inside carefully. Dust floated in the sunlight, and the air smelled strongly of old books. But now, it felt different. There was a sense of life, almost as if the library had been waiting for him. He glanced around nervously, and then he heard it, a soft, clear whisper. "Aiden." He froze, recognizing the voice immediately. "Myra?" he asked softly. "Yes," the voice replied, tender and warm. "You came back. I wondered if you would." Aiden walked slowly toward the center of the library, where the glowing book lay on the table. "I promised I would," he said. "I want to help you. But, how is this possible? How are you speaking to me?" Myra's voice sounded brighter now, almost joyful. "I do not know exactly how. The library has held me here, but somehow, you can hear me. You have a gift, or maybe it is the library itself that allows you to listen." She paused for a moment. "I have been waiting for someone who could see me, even if only through my voice." Aiden felt a strange warmth in his chest. It was hard to explain, but he knew he wanted to hear everything Myra had to say. He pulled a chair closer to the table and sat down. "Tell me about yourself," he said. "How did you get trapped here?" "The library, it was built a long time ago," Myra began. "I loved books more than anything. One day, I found a secret room behind the shelves, full of the oldest and rarest books. But the moment I touched them, something magical happened. The library, it kept me here. I could not leave. I tried to call for help, but no one could hear me. I could only whisper to the books, hoping someone one day would listen." Aiden's eyes widened. He could feel her sadness, her longing, in every word. That must have been so lonely," he said gently. "It was," Myra admitted. "For years, I thought no one would ever come. But now, you are here. And it feels alive again." For the next few hours, Aiden and Myra spoke quietly. He read aloud from the old books, and she responded, sometimes with explanations, sometimes with stories of her life and the library's secrets. He wrote notes in his notebook, trying to remember every word, every detail. With each passing moment, he felt closer to her. There was a comfort in her voice, a kind of friendship he had never felt before, and a curiosity that pulled him deeper into the library's mysteries. "Why me?" he asked at one point, his voice barely above a whisper. "Because you can see what others cannot," Myra replied. "You listen with your heart, not just your ears. Most people would have walked past this place, never noticing the doors, never hearing me. You care." Aiden smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. It was strange to feel connected to someone he had never seen, yet her presence was stronger than anything he had known. "I care," he said simply. "I want to help you get free. If there is a way, I will find it." Myra's voice softened, almost shyly. "There may be a way, but it will take time and courage. The library, it does not let go easily. You must trust yourself, and trust me. If we work together, maybe, just maybe, I can be free." Aiden nodded, determination filling him. "We'll figure it out. I won't give up." The hours passed like minutes. Aiden left the library only when the sunlight faded and the shadows grew long. Myra's whisper followed him to the door, soft and full of hope. "Thank you for coming back," she said. "I feel alive again." As he walked home through the forest, Aiden thought about how unusual everything was. A girl trapped in a magical library, speaking only to him, sharing stories no one else could hear. It seemed impossible. And yet, he believed it. He had never felt such connection, such purpose. He smiled to himself, knowing he would return the next day. He had discovered more than an abandoned library. He had discovered a friend, a guide, and perhaps something even deeper waiting to grow. That night, as Aiden lay in bed, he could still hear Myra's whispers in his mind. They were soft, comforting, and full of life. He realized that the abandoned library was no longer empty. It was alive with the promise of discovery, friendship, and something extraordinary. And he knew, without a doubt, that his life had changed forever. The next morning, Aiden hurried through the forest, eager to return to the library. The leaves crunched softly beneath his feet, and the cool breeze brushed against his face. His heart beat faster than usual. Yesterday had been extraordinary. He had heard Myra's story, and something inside him had changed. It was no longer just curiosity. He felt a need to be there for her, to understand her world and the magic that bound her. When he reached the library, the doors greeted him with the same quiet resistance, creaking slightly as he pushed them open. Inside, the dusty air was warm and inviting, and a soft glow seemed to emanate from the shelves themselves. Myra's whisper greeted him almost immediately, stronger than before. "Aiden, you came," she said, her voice like the gentle rustle of pages in a quiet room. "I told you I would," Aiden replied, moving closer to the glowing book on the table. "I want to know more. Tell me everything." Myra laughed softly, a sound so light and melodic that it made Aiden pause. "Everything is a long story, but I will try. The library is older than anyone remembers. It has hidden rooms, secret doors, and books that contain more than words. They hold memories, feelings, even fragments of people who loved them." Aiden felt a shiver of awe. "So, this place, it's alive, in a way." "In its own way," Myra said. "And it has chosen you. That is why you can hear me, why the library seems brighter when you are here." Over the next several hours, Aiden and Myra explored the library together. Though Myra was not visible, her voice guided him, pointing out shelves with interesting books, secret corners, and patterns in the dust that seemed to tell stories of their own. Sometimes, a small flicker of light would appear, like a shadow taking the shape of a person, and Aiden would feel her presence more vividly. "You are getting stronger," Aiden said at one point, watching a small glimmer dance across the table. "I feel it too," Myra replied, her voice almost excited. "The more we share, the more the library seems to respond. It is like it recognizes our friendship." Aiden smiled. He had never felt this kind of connection before. It was strange to be so close to someone he had never seen, but Myra's voice carried a warmth and honesty that made her feel real. "I never thought I could care about a place like this, or a voice like yours, but I do," he admitted softly. "And I care about you, Aiden," Myra whispered. "I have waited so long for someone to come, someone to understand me, and now, it feels like I can breathe again." They shared stories about their lives, dreams, and little wishes. Myra told him about the books she loved most and the secret places she had explored inside the library. Aiden spoke of the town, his friends, and his adventures in the forest. Despite being from two different worlds, one living and one trapped in magic, they found so much in common. Their laughter echoed softly, bouncing off the walls of the old library and filling it with warmth. At one point, Myra guided Aiden to a corner of the library he had never noticed before. Behind a heavy shelf, they found a small, dust-covered mirror. When Aiden peered into it, the glass shimmered, and he thought he saw the faint outline of Myra standing behind him. His heart raced. "Myra, is that you?" he whispered. "Yes," she said, her voice trembling slightly with excitement. "I cannot appear fully yet, but we are getting closer. The library is helping us, little by little." Aiden reached out toward the mirror, feeling a strange pull, as if he could touch her through it. "I want to help you, Myra. I will do whatever it takes to set you free." "You already are helping," Myra said. "Every time you return, every time you speak to me, you give me strength. And I feel something new. Something I never thought I could feel again, hope." Hours passed unnoticed. The sun moved across the sky, casting long shadows between the shelves, but Aiden did not leave. He felt at peace, even though the library was full of dust and darkness. Myra's whispers were like a light, guiding him through every corner, every hidden passage, every forgotten story. And with each passing moment, their bond grew stronger, not just as friends, but as two souls connected in a way that went beyond time, space, and magic. As the evening approached, Aiden finally stood, reluctant to leave but knowing he must. "I will come back tomorrow," he promised. "I will be here," Myra whispered, her voice soft and full of gratitude. "And I will wait. Always." Aiden left the library, the forest around him golden and quiet. The wind carried the faintest echo of Myra's voice, and he smiled to himself. Something extraordinary had begun. He had found a friend, a confidant, and perhaps even a kind of love that started not with sight, but with trust and understanding. The abandoned library was no longer silent or lonely, it was alive with the whispers of a story just beginning. The next day, Aiden returned to the abandoned library with a sense of purpose. The sunlight streamed through the broken windows, casting warm golden lines across the dusty floor. Every corner seemed more alive than before, almost as if the library itself had been waiting for him. He felt Myra's presence immediately, a soft whisper in the air that made the hairs on his arms stand up. "Aiden." Myra's voice sounded excited, almost like she had been waiting anxiously for him. "Today, I want to show you something special." "Special?" Aiden asked, curious. "What is it?" "You will see," Myra replied, her voice full of anticipation. "Follow me." He followed the soft sound of her voice through the maze of shelves, past the glowing book, and deeper into the library than he had ever gone before. Myra guided him carefully, her whispers pointing out hidden doors and secret alcoves that Aiden had never noticed. At one point, a small shelf moved slightly, revealing a narrow passage behind it. Dust swirled in the sunlight that spilled through the opening. "This way," Myra urged. Aiden squeezed through the passage, his heart racing with excitement. The hidden corridor was lined with old, forgotten books, their spines cracked and faded. Some were so old that their pages crumbled at the touch, yet they seemed to hold a quiet magic. At the end of the corridor, Myra guided him to a small, circular room with walls covered in ancient symbols. In the center of the room was a pedestal with a thick, leather-bound book resting upon it. "This book," Myra whispered, "contains the secrets of the library, and of me. It may tell us how I can be free." Aiden approached the pedestal carefully. The book seemed to hum under his fingers, warm and alive. He opened it slowly, revealing pages filled with strange writing and illustrations of magical symbols. Myra's voice guided him, explaining what she could understand. "The library was enchanted long ago," she said. "It can hold a spirit inside, but it can also release one if the right steps are followed." Aiden studied the pages, trying to understand. There were instructions, though they were written in a language he could barely read. Myra's whispers guided him, translating words and symbols. "It says here that freeing me requires courage, belief, and a heart willing to act without hesitation," she explained. "It is not easy, but it is possible." Aiden nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "Then we'll do it," he said firmly. "We'll figure out the way together." Myra's voice trembled with emotion. "Aiden, I cannot fully appear yet. I can only guide you. But I feel hope. With you here, I feel that it is possible." Together, they spent the day reading the ancient book, exploring the hidden room, and trying to understand the complex symbols. Aiden noticed that as he concentrated, the library seemed to respond. Faint glimmers of light shimmered along the shelves, dust lifted softly into the air, and shadows moved like gentle waves. Myra laughed softly, delighted by the signs of magic. "The library is alive," Aiden said, amazed. "It responds to us." "Yes," Myra whispered. "It senses our hearts. The more we care, the more it helps." Hours passed, and the sun began to fade, leaving the room bathed in soft evening light. Aiden carefully closed the book, keeping it safe on the pedestal. "I think we can do this," he said, hope filling his voice. "I believe we can set you free." Myra's voice was soft, almost shy. "I believe too, Aiden. And I feel something more now. I have waited so long, but with you, I feel alive again. I am not just a whisper anymore. I feel like I can exist, even beyond the library." Aiden felt his heart swell. He had never met anyone like Myra. Her voice, her stories, her presence, even though she was invisible, had become a part of him. "I will not let anything stop us," he promised. "No matter what it takes, we will find a way together." As he left the hidden room and returned to the main library, Aiden felt a new sense of purpose. The abandoned library was no longer just a place of dust and silence. It had become a place of discovery, magic, and connection. Myra's whispers followed him, gentle and full of gratitude, as he stepped into the fading sunlight outside. Walking home through the forest, Aiden realized that the library had changed him too. He no longer saw the world as ordinary. Every shadow, every sound, every quiet moment could hold a story waiting to be discovered. And in the center of it all, there was Myra, a voice, a presence, a friend, and perhaps even something more. The adventure had only just begun, and he knew that together, they could overcome anything the library might place in their path. The next morning, Aidan hurried through the forest once again, carrying the thick, leather-bound book with him. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was the day he would try the first steps of the ritual that might free Myra. The sun was warm on his back, and the wind whispered through the trees, as if encouraging him to move faster. He could almost hear Myra's voice calling him, soft and full of hope. When he reached the library, he pushed open the old wooden doors and stepped inside. Dust floated in the sunlight, and the shelves seemed to shine a little brighter than before. Myra's voice greeted him immediately. "Aidan. You came early," she whispered, full of excitement. "I'm ready, Myra," Aidan replied, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. "We can start today." "Yes," Myra said. "But you must be careful. The library will test us. It will show you things that might confuse you or scare you. You have to trust yourself, and trust me." Aidan nodded. He took a deep breath and set the book on the table. He opened it to the page they had studied yesterday, the page filled with strange symbols and instructions. Myra's voice guided him as he read aloud the words slowly and clearly. The letters glowed faintly, and the air seemed to shimmer with energy. "The first step is to call the library's attention," Myra whispered. "You must speak with your heart, not just your voice. Feel what you feel for me, for the library, for all the stories inside." Aidan closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about Myra and the hours they had spent together. He thought about her loneliness, her courage, and the friendship they had formed. He felt a warmth in his chest, a steady rhythm of hope and determination. Slowly, he began to speak, not just reading the words, but letting his feelings flow into them. The library responded immediately. The dust swirled around him, light danced across the shelves, and the shadows moved like gentle waves. Myra's voice was stronger now, almost like she was standing beside him. "I can feel you, Aidan," she whispered. "Keep going." Step by step, Aidan followed the instructions. He moved carefully, touching certain books, arranging them in patterns, and reading the magic words aloud. At one point, a sudden gust of wind blew through the library, scattering dust and papers everywhere. Aidan froze, but Myra's voice calmed him. "It is testing us," she explained. "Do not be afraid. Trust yourself. Trust me." Aidan closed his eyes and continued. He spoke with confidence now, and the library seemed to respond more strongly. The light around the glowing book grew brighter, and for a moment, he thought he could see Myra's outline in the air, flickering like a shadow of someone alive. His heart raced with hope and fear at the same time. Hours passed, and Aidan worked tirelessly, guided by Myra's whispers. Slowly, he began to notice small changes in her voice. She laughed softly when a spell worked perfectly, and she gasped in surprise when the library revealed hidden symbols. With every small success, her presence grew stronger, and Aidan felt the bond between them deepen. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the ritual reached its first major step. Myra's outline shimmered more clearly, her form becoming easier to sense, though still faint. "Aidan. I can almost touch you," she whispered, her voice full of wonder. "You're doing amazing, Myra," he said, smiling. "We're getting closer." "I can feel it," she said softly. It is like I am waking from a long dream. The library, it is listening to us. As the sun began to set outside, casting warm orange light through the windows, Aiden carefully closed the book. He felt tired, but also filled with joy. They had completed the first steps of the ritual, and Myra was stronger than she had been in decades. "I will rest now," she whispered. "But tomorrow, we continue. I feel hope, Aiden. Real hope. Because of you." Aiden left the library slowly, carrying the book carefully. As he walked through the forest, he thought about everything that had happened. The abandoned library, once silent and lonely, was no longer just a building of dust and shadows. It had become a place of life, of magic, and of connection. He smiled to himself, thinking about Myra. Her whispers were not just sounds, they were full of courage, warmth, and a promise that something extraordinary was beginning. For the first time, he truly believed that he could help someone trapped for so long, and that together, they could overcome anything the library might challenge them with. That night, as Aiden lay in bed, he could still hear Myra's gentle whispers in his mind. They were soft, comforting, and full of hope. He closed his eyes, feeling a quiet happiness he had never known before. He knew tomorrow would bring more challenges, but he also knew that with Myra by his side, nothing was impossible. The adventure was far from over, and the bond they shared was growing stronger every day. The next day, Aiden hurried through the forest with the leather-bound book tucked under his arm. He could feel the excitement and nervousness in his chest. Today was an important day. The ritual to free Myra was reaching its most critical part. The sun cast golden light across the trees, and the birds sang as if cheering him on. He took a deep breath, ready to face whatever the library would show him. When he pushed open the old wooden doors of the library, the familiar smell of old books and dust greeted him. But today, the air seemed charged with energy. The shelves shimmered faintly in the sunlight, and Myra's voice echoed clearly, warm and full of anticipation. "Aiden. You came." Myra whispered, her tone almost trembling with excitement. Today we try the next step. Are you ready?" "I'm ready," Aiden said firmly, setting the book on the table. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also a growing confidence. "We've come this far together. We can do this." Myra's voice grew brighter. "I can feel your courage, Aiden. It gives me strength. Now, we begin." He opened the book to the page they had studied before, and Myra guided him as he read the magical words aloud. This time, the glow from the book grew brighter, spreading across the table and onto the floor. Dust lifted gently into the air, swirling in patterns that looked almost alive. The library itself seemed to be responding to their combined energy, as if it recognized the importance of the moment. "You are doing it perfectly," Myra whispered. "Keep speaking with your heart, Aiden. Feel every word." Step by step, Aiden followed the ritual. He arranged the books, traced the symbols, and read the ancient phrases aloud, pouring all his courage, hope, and care into the process. The library reacted to every movement, every word. Faint lights danced along the shelves, shadows shifted, and a soft humming filled the air. Aiden could feel Myra's presence growing stronger, as if she was reaching closer to the physical world with each passing moment. At one point, a sudden gust of wind blew through the library, scattering pages and raising the dust into a swirling cloud. Aiden held his ground, keeping his voice steady and focusing on Myra. "I trust you," he whispered. "And I trust the library?" Myra's voice grew urgent and joyful. "Yes. You are so brave." The library responds because of your heart. As he continued, he began to see glimpses of Myra's form in the light. At first, it was only a shimmer, like a shadow or a reflection. But slowly, her shape became more solid. Aiden's breath caught in his throat as he realized she was appearing before him, her long hair glimmering in the library light, her eyes bright with emotion. "Aiden," Myra whispered, her voice trembling. I can see you now. I can almost touch you." Aiden reached out carefully, his hand trembling as he tried to close the distance. "Myra, you're real," he said softly, his voice full of wonder. "I am because of you," she replied, her eyes shining. "You gave me hope. You gave me strength. And now, I am free." The library pulsed with light, as if celebrating the moment. The shadows faded, and the dust settled. Myra's form grew solid and radiant, fully visible and alive for the first time in decades. Aiden's heart raced, overwhelmed with happiness and awe. He had never felt such joy. "You did it, Aiden," Myra said, laughing softly, a sound so pure and full of life that it made the library feel warm and magical. "You set me free." Aiden smiled, feeling a mix of relief and wonder. "No, we did it together. I couldn't have done it without you." They stood there for a long moment, just looking at each other. Myra reached out her hand, and Aiden took it gently. The warmth of her touch spread through him, filling him with a sense of connection he had never known. For the first time, the library felt completely alive, no longer silent or lonely. "Thank you," Myra whispered. "I can finally move, explore, and experience the world again. And it's because of your courage and care." "We make a good team," Aiden said, smiling. "I'm just glad you're safe now." As they walked through the library together, exploring its restored corners, Myra's laughter filled the air. The once abandoned place now shone with life and magic, reflecting the bond between them. The shelves were filled with vibrant books, the air smelled of adventure, and the sunlight streamed through the windows like a promise of new beginnings. That evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in warm shades of orange and pink, Aiden and Myra stood together near the glowing book. "This is just the beginning," Aiden said softly. "Yes," Myra agreed, holding his hand. "Our adventure is only starting. But now, we are together. And nothing can stop us." For the first time, Aiden felt completely at peace. The library, Myra, and the magic of their journey had changed him forever. And as they stood there side by side, he knew that their story, one of courage, friendship, and love, was only beginning to unfold. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows of the library, making the dust dance in golden beams. Aiden and Myra walked among the shelves, their hands brushing against old books, now restored to vibrant colors and neat order. The library had transformed completely, no longer abandoned or lonely. It was alive, warm, and filled with possibilities. Every corner seemed to hum with magic, as if the walls themselves celebrated Myra's freedom and the bond she shared with Aiden. "It's beautiful," Aiden said softly, looking around in wonder. "I never imagined it could look like this." Myra smiled, her eyes sparkling. "It's beautiful because of us. Because of you. We brought it back to life together." For the first time in decades, Myra could explore freely. She wandered through the aisles, touching the spines of books, laughing softly as her fingers brushed against forgotten titles. She discovered hidden nooks, secret alcoves, and colorful illustrations she had never noticed before. Aiden followed her, smiling at her excitement and feeling a deep happiness in his heart. He had always loved the library, but seeing it through Myra's eyes made it feel magical in a way he could not have imagined. "I never thought I would see you like this," Aiden said gently. "Alive, free, happy." Myra turned to him, her smile soft and warm. "I couldn't have done it without you, Aiden. You listened, you cared, and you never gave up on me. That made all the difference." Together, they decided to restore the library and share its magic with others. Aiden and Myra worked tirelessly, dusting shelves, organizing books, and repairing broken furniture. Word slowly spread throughout the town about the hidden treasure of knowledge and stories. People came to the library, amazed by the beauty and calm that radiated from every corner. They didn't know about the magical whispers or the spirit that had been freed, but they felt the warmth and care in every shelf and book. At night, when the last visitors left, Aiden and Myra would sit together near the glowing book. Myra's presence was no longer a whisper. She could sit beside him, talk to him, and even hold his hand. They shared stories about the day, laughed at small accidents, and sometimes just enjoyed the quiet together. Each moment deepened their connection, turning friendship into something more profound and tender. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with shades of orange and pink, Aiden and Myra sat by the largest window in the library. The light reflected on Myra's hair, making it shine like gold. "Do you remember the first day you found me?" Myra asked softly. "I was scared, lonely, and then you came." Aiden smiled, squeezing her hand gently. "I remember. I felt something special that day, too. Even though I didn't see you fully, I knew. I had to help you." "And you did," Myra said, her voice full of warmth. "You gave me hope. You gave me life again." For a long moment, they sat in silence, just holding hands and watching the sun sink behind the trees. The library was quiet, but no longer empty. It was filled with life, magic, and the love that had grown between them. Aiden realized that this place, which had once been a forgotten, abandoned library, was now a sanctuary not just for books, but for them, for the town, and for anyone who needed wonder, knowledge, or comfort. "We have something special here," Aiden said finally. "Not just the library, but us. And everything we've discovered together." Myra nodded, her eyes shining. "Yes. And we will protect it. We will care for it, just like it cared for me." As the night deepened, they lit a few lamps, casting a soft, warm glow over the shelves. The library was now a home for them, both a place where magic, stories, and life intertwined. Myra leaned against Aiden, feeling safe, happy, and free. He held her close, grateful for the journey that had begun with a whisper and a curiosity that led him into the abandoned library. Outside, the town slept peacefully, unaware of the magic that had awakened in the quiet forest. Inside, the library hummed with a gentle energy, the shelves glowing faintly, as if acknowledging the bond between Aiden and Myra. It was a place of wonder, hope, and life, a perfect reflection of the courage, care, and love that had brought them together. Aiden whispered softly, "This is just the beginning, Myra. We'll have many adventures together, here, in the library, and beyond." Myra smiled, resting her head against him. "Yes, Aiden, together. Forever." And so, in the abandoned library that had once held only dust and shadows, life bloomed. It became a sanctuary for stories, a home for magic, and a testament to the power of courage, kindness, and the extraordinary bond between two hearts. The whispers that had once been lonely now became laughter, conversation, and love, an everlasting melody that filled the library, and the world beyond, with hope and joy.